You're sipping coffee at the kitchen counter when something thuds against the window. You turn, startled, and see a bird fluttering inside your living room, slamming into walls, wings wild with panic. For a moment, it's just chaos. But then once the bird finds its way out, a strange silence settles in. That wasn't just an accident, was it? Birds don't fly into houses for no reason. Not in ancient lore, and certainly not in the silent language of energy. Across generations and belief systems, a bird flying indoors has always carried meaning, sometimes a blessing, sometimes a warning. But in today's rational world, most people dismiss these moments as coincidence. They close the window, clear the feathers, and never stop to ask, "What just tried to reach me?" In this video, we're going to talk about what it actually means, spiritually, energetically, and intuitively, when a bird crosses the threshold into your home. From tiny sparrows to magpies to white birds appearing at night, every species, every entrance, and every moment holds a message. If you've ever had a bird fly in and crash against the mirror or circle your ceiling light in confusion, you might have sensed that something deeper was unfolding, something your mind couldn't explain, but your body absolutely felt. And here's the truth. Ignoring these signs doesn't make them disappear. In fact, turning away from them might just cause you to miss a shift the universe was trying to bring into your life, be it a warning, a cleansing, or a new beginning trying to land in the center of your space. So before you write it off as random, pause, ask yourself, what if that bird wasn't lost, but sent? And what if its message was waiting to be heard, not chased away? Part 1. A nest by your roof where energy chooses to stay. It doesn't begin with a loud flutter. It starts with something subtle, barely noticeable. A single twig on your porch railing, then another one tucked beneath the eaves. At first, you brush it off. Just whined, maybe. But within days, it's unmistakable. A bird is building a nest on your property. Maybe in a corner of the balcony, under the roofline, or nestled in a wreath you hung months ago and forgot to take down. And just like that, your home is chosen. But have you ever paused to ask, why here? Birds are not careless builders. They don't choose random places. They're deeply intuitive creatures, sensitive to vibrations, stillness, and emotional atmospheres. A bird will not build where energy feels rushed, hostile, or heavy. It will not settle where chaos lingers. It searches for steadiness, somewhere it can lay its future without fear. So when a bird chooses your home, it's not just nature doing what it does. It's a mirror reflecting something about your space, something even you might have overlooked. Maybe your home is quieter than you realize. Maybe despite the noise of your own mind, there's a peace rooted in your walls, your habits, your mornings. And maybe that quiet has been noticed, not by a neighbor or a guest, but by a living being that only responds to balance. Think about this. In a world filled with noise, disruption, and constant movement, a tiny bird found enough calm on your balcony to bring life into the world. That isn't just cute, that's sacred. It's a form of unspoken trust. A nest isn't decoration, it's declaration. It says, this space is safe. And it's easy to miss the depth of that. We often clean it away. We worry about the mess, the droppings, the inconvenience. But what we're really brushing off is a sign that something in our life, our home, or even our own energy field is actually working. It's aligned. It's settled enough to attract new life. And here's the thing, when we disrupt that nest, we may be disrupting more than twigs and feathers. We may be disrupting a flow that had just begun to settle in. Call it energy, vibration, luck, or simply peace. But when we tear down the place a creature has called safe, we're sending a message, not just to the bird, but to ourselves. This is not a place for growth. So what happens if instead we allow it? What happens if we let that nest stay, not forever, but long enough for the cycle to complete? You'll find something strange unfolding, a sense of presence, a feeling of life happening right outside your window, a shift in how you move through your own space. You may start to walk more gently, speak more softly, or become more aware of your own energy as you pass beneath that little home tucked in the corner. That awareness alone can recalibrate more than you think. And no, this isn't just sentiment. In countless anecdotal accounts, people who allowed nests to remain near their homes reported surprising patterns: unexpected promotions, peaceful reconciliations, improved sleep, or even the sense that something just felt better. You might chalk that up to coincidence, but what if it's more? What if allowing a bird to trust your space begins with you trusting it too? Here's a question worth sitting with. If a fragile creature, exposed to wind and predators, finds your home stable enough to raise its young, do you see that stability in yourself? Or are you still rushing past the evidence of calm that already exists in your life? Often we're so focused on what's lacking, we forget to honor what's already right. So the next time you see a nest forming by your window or tucked above your porch light, don't reach for the broom right away. Take a breath. Ask yourself what it means to be chosen, not just by nature, but by life itself. And if your first instinct is to clean it up, pause and ask, is there a part of me that also needs a place to land, to rest, to quietly rebuild? Because maybe that nest isn't just theirs. Maybe it's an echo, a reminder that even in stillness, something beautiful is being born right above your head, and all it needs is a little space. Part 2. The small bird visit a whisper from the universe. You're walking through the hallway or sitting in your backyard, and suddenly, without warning, a small bird darts into view. A sparrow, perhaps, or a finch, or even a little dove. It doesn't crash or panic. It hovers, perches for a moment. Maybe on your window ledge, or the back of a chair, or even just the edge of your porch. Then it flies away just as quickly, leaving behind only the flutter of wings and a strange stillness in the air. It doesn't seem dramatic, but something in you pauses. You wonder why it chose that moment, why it chose your space. That pause, that moment of wondering, that's the point. Because the small bird's visit isn't meant to knock you over, it's meant to awaken something soft and subtle. These birds don't come like omens with thunder. They come like a breath of clarity when you weren't looking for it. And in that, they carry one of the most overlooked spiritual truths. Not every message is loud. Sometimes the universe whispers, and these small birds, often dismissed as common or insignificant, become the quiet carriers of those whispers. In many traditions, they represent everyday blessings, good news on the way, emotional relief, or a gentle shift in your mental landscape. Not everything they bring is huge, but it's real. A little sparrow might mean a long-lost friend reaching out, a piece of news that brings comfort, or simply a nudge that reminds you you're not as alone or off course as you feared. These visits often happen when you've been spinning too fast, worrying too much, or feeling detached from the present moment. That's when the bird comes. It lands, it pauses, and in doing so, it pulls you back into presence. It reminds you that life is still happening outside the cycle of your thoughts, that there's movement, rhythm, and grace playing out even when you've forgotten how to notice it. What matters most isn't the species of the bird, but your state of attention when it comes. Did you stop to see it? Did something in you soften, even briefly? Or did you brush it off as nothing, just another passing shadow? Because sometimes the biggest mistake isn't missing the bird. It's missing the stillness it gave you permission to feel. That quiet moment could have been the exact interruption your soul needed. Think about this. In the middle of a busy day, full of tasks and errands, a tiny creature with no schedule of its own chooses your space for a single breath of rest. That's not random, that's resonance. Something in your energy field called it in, and the bird answered. So what were you thinking about right before it appeared? What worry were you carrying? What hope were you afraid to say out loud? Often the visit aligns with something just under the surface. A dream you've been pushing away, a relationship that needs healing, a decision you've been avoiding. And the bird shows up not to solve it, but to bring your attention back to it. It's not a solution, it's an invitation. So the next time a small bird visits, don't just take a picture and scroll on. Let the moment land. Ask yourself what needs to shift. Sometimes the visit says, slow down. Sometimes it says, something good is coming. And sometimes it simply says, you are seen. You are still connected to a world that moves in rhythms deeper than schedules and deadlines. The bird isn't lost, it's aligned. And for that one breath of time, so are you. So what will you do with that moment? Will you wave it away? Or will you let that tiny winged presence remind you to listen, to the world, to your space, and most of all, to yourself? Part 3, morning song from the east. When good luck knocks softly, you're waking up early, maybe not even fully awake yet. And through the soft quiet of the morning, you hear it, a bird singing, not loud, not alarming, just one clear note followed by another. It comes from the east-facing side of your home. You might not even register it at first, but something about it feels timed, like it was meant for you. In ancient systems of energy awareness, many of which quietly thread their way into even modern thinking, the East holds special meaning. It's where the sun rises. It's the direction of beginnings, momentum, new chances. When a bird sings from the east in the early hours of the day, it's not just making noise, it's participating in a ritual older than we are. That song is a signal, a gentle knock on the door of your awareness telling you something is waking up, and you might want to pay attention. These moments are easy to overlook. The coffee isn't brewed yet. Your phone is buzzing. But underneath all that noise, life is trying to reach you. Luck doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives as a bird perching on the east gutter of your house, singing not just because it can, but because its frequency is attuned to a shift that's already moving toward you. These birds, often blue jays, robins, or even wrens, tend to appear when something is on its way into your life. A job opportunity, a conversation that opens a door, a moment of clarity about what you want next. They sing not to predict the future, but to prepare the space for it. Think of it like tuning an instrument. Their presence shifts the energy just enough for you to notice a different tone in your own thinking, a more hopeful edge to your next decision. That's what makes the morning bird so powerful. It's not just a creature in your yard, it's a messenger of transition. The Eastern song is especially meaningful if you're at a crossroads feeling unsure or waiting for a sign that says, yes, you're allowed to move forward. But here's the catch. If you sleep through it, figuratively or literally, you might miss the moment. These signs aren't designed to scream. They're designed to reach people who are quiet enough to hear. So the question becomes, are you listening? Are you building your days in a way that leaves space for soft arrivals? Because success, support, even sudden breakthroughs, they don't always show up in bold colors. Sometimes they come as a bird calling from the eastern fence at 6:15 a.m., and you either hear it or you don't. People who start paying attention to these patterns often report small but powerful shifts. They notice how certain days just flow better, how certain choices feel easier. It's not magic, it's attunement. When you're in sync with life's timing, you stop forcing things and instead move in rhythm with what's already unfolding. That's what the morning bird teaches us. The difference between rushing and receiving. The difference between effort and alignment. And while it might seem small, one song can redirect your entire day. One moment of quiet presence can make you realize you're not stuck. You're simply waiting for the right wind. So if tomorrow morning you hear that song again, from a place you don't expect, don't dismiss it. Pause, step toward it, even if just in thought. Ask yourself what new beginning is knocking, softly but surely, from the eastern side of your life. And remember, good luck doesn't always roar in. Sometimes it sings outside your window, asking only that you hear it and say yes. Part 4. The panicked bird, a sign that energy can't find its way. You're standing in your living room when you hear it, the sharp, frantic flutter of wings. A bird has flown inside, maybe through an open door or an unlatched window. At first, it's just confusion. But then it starts crashing into things, the glass door, the ceiling fan, the mirror by the hallway. Its body moves fast, but its path is chaotic. It's not flying, it's fighting. Fighting against something it can't see and doesn't understand. And as you try to help, maybe open a door or wave it toward the light, something deeper rises in your chest. An unsettling sense that this isn't just about the bird. That scene of a creature spinning in panic, unable to find the way out, feels uncomfortably familiar. Because maybe, just maybe, it mirrors something in your own life. A situation that feels trapped. a conversation that keeps repeating itself, a dream you once chased that now just circles the edges of your thoughts, going nowhere. The bird becomes more than a visitor. It becomes a sign, a living, breathing metaphor for what happens when energy inside a space, inside a person, loses direction. In spiritual practices across many cultures, birds are sensitive to energy fields. When they enter a space and can't find their way out, it's often interpreted as a warning. The energy inside that environment is blocked. Something is out of sync. And it's not always about layout or design. Sometimes the blockage isn't in the furniture, it's in the emotions. Grief that was never voiced. Resentment that's been sitting for too long. The kind of heaviness you don't notice until something delicate tries to fly through it and can't. Mirrors and glass play a strange role in these encounters. To birds, they appear as open space until impact reveals the illusion. Think about that. How many times have you chased something that looked like freedom, only to hit a wall that was invisible until it stopped you cold? These aren't just poetic moments. They are real. They leave dents in your walls and in your awareness. And if you're paying attention, they can become opportunities, not for fear, but for clarity. When a bird flies in and loses its way, it's often asking you to check. Where is energy not moving in your home, in your habits, in your heart? Where have you set up mirrors, reflections of what you wish was true, instead of windows that open to what's real? The panic of the bird isn't the problem, it's the symptom. What's more important is how you respond. Do you yell, do you freeze? Or do you pause, breathe, and gently create a way out? Because that's often what the space is asking for too. A clearing, a release, a doorway back to light. You don't need to tear the house apart. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as moving a mirror, letting sunlight hit a new corner, or opening a window you haven't touched in weeks. Sometimes it starts with moving your own energy, through breath, through words, through a single, quiet decision to stop pushing and start listening. There's a reason so many people remember the exact moment a bird flew into their house. It stays with them, not because of the mess or the chaos, but because something about that panic struck a deeper chord. Something unspoken came into view, and that's the invitation, not to fear the moment, but to let it guide you. When energy is trapped, it doesn't need force, it needs flow, it needs recognition. So if this ever happens to you, take it seriously, but not with fear. Honor it, help the bird out gently. Then help yourself by looking at the spaces in your life where you too might be circling the same glass, mistaking reflection for freedom. And when you find it, when you see that stuck place, open a window. Literally, metaphorically, let air move through, let light land again. Because maybe the bird didn't come to scare you. Maybe it came to help you see exactly what needed to shift. Part 5. A white bird at night, the presence of unfinished stories. It's late. The house is quiet. The kind of quiet that hums after everyone has gone to sleep. You're turning off lights, maybe heading toward bed when something catches your eye, a flicker, a movement by the window or just beyond the porch. You look again. It's a bird, a white one, perched near the glass or fluttering silently just above the ground. You weren't expecting it. It feels out of place, out of time. And more than anything, it feels still. Not afraid, not loud, just present. That moment lingers longer than it should, and inside something stirs, an unease, a tug, like you're being reminded of something you once knew but forgot how to name. In symbolic traditions across the world, white birds hold deep meaning. They've been seen as messengers between realms, indicators of spiritual presence, or reflections of purity and closure. But when one appears at night, especially near the home, the bedroom, or the space where memories sleep, it often points not to innocence, but to what's unresolved. A white bird in the dark is like a letter from the past, delivered without words. It carries the energy of something unfinished, a goodbye never said, an emotion left hanging, a chapter that never found its end. And when it comes near your space, it isn't random. It's relational. It's connected to your atmosphere, your story, your energy. Maybe someone you loved is reaching across the veil, not to haunt, but to remind you that the heart never forgets. Maybe there's grief sitting quiet in the corners of your home, grief that's been respectful, waiting for you to be ready. And now, through a soft flap of wings, it's asking, is it time? These birds don't demand, they invite, they don't scare, they stir. And what they awaken is not fear, but reverence for memory, for mystery, for the parts of our lives that don't live in calendar dates or journal entries, but in silence. The appearance of a white bird at night is a threshold moment, not because something is ending, but because something long paused is ready to move. Maybe it's a forgiveness you've withheld from someone else or yourself. Maybe it's the lingering echo of a parent's voice, a friend's last goodbye, or even a version of yourself you've quietly buried. The bird doesn't come to fix it. It comes to honor it. It says, I see this, do you? And in that moment you get to choose. You can shut the curtain, turn away, pretend it's just nature doing what nature does, or you can meet the moment with stillness, with presence, with a quiet kind of courage that says, maybe it's time to open this drawer. Maybe it's time to bless the past, not erase it. If the bird comes close to your bedroom or rests near the room of someone ill or elderly, that message deepens. It's a gentle whisper, be present, be loving, be grateful now, not later. We often wait for tragedy to remind us of what matters, but the bird comes early. It gives us the chance to feel the depth before the loss, and that in itself is a gift. After the bird leaves, do something simple. Light a candle, say a name, breathe slowly as if you're exhaling something that's waited too long to be released. You don't need a ritual book, just honesty, just heart. Maybe even speak out loud to no one in particular, to the room, to the past. And if your words tremble, let them. Healing isn't always clean, but it is always sacred. So if tonight or any night a white bird comes to your window, don't just ask, what does it mean? Ask instead, what is ready to rest? Because maybe the bird isn't a warning, maybe it's permission to feel something deeply, to love someone fully, or to finally lay a piece of your story gently to sleep. Part 6. When a bird comes, what should you do? A bird enters your home, or rests just outside it, or hovers near a window, then leaves. You felt the shift, the strange hush, the ripple through your thoughts, the feeling that something beyond logic has brushed against your day. But now comes the most important part. What do you do next? Not in superstition, not in fear, but in awareness. Because when nature crosses a line to meet you in your space, it's not enough to only observe. You're being invited to respond. First, pause, not with panic, with presence. Whether the bird flew in, hovered, or simply appeared in a way that felt meaningful, stop for a breath. Don't rush to assign it a meaning. Don't Google it yet. Let the moment land. This is your life, your energy, your home. And your intuition already knows more than you think. Ask yourself, what was I thinking about just before this happened? What emotion was I holding? What part of my life feels uncertain, stuck, or unspoken? The bird may not be an answer, but it might be a mirror. Now, if the bird has entered your home physically, help it out gently. Don't shout, don't chase. Open the windows, create space. Remove obstacles, make the path back to freedom as clear and soft as possible. And notice what that process feels like. Because often in helping the bird, you reveal the state of your own inner world. Are you frantic, over-controlling, hesitant to let go? Or are you calm, patient, trusting the process? How you handle that moment reflects how you hold your own transitions. After the bird leaves, don't just move on. Clean the area not just physically, but energetically. Light a candle, burn incense, open the windows wider. Let air move through the room like a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You're not cleansing a curse. You're honoring a visitor and making sure that whatever energy it stirred can now flow freely again. If the encounter felt beautiful, like a blessing, anchor it, say something out loud. Whisper a prayer of gratitude, even if you don't know who you're speaking to. The act of acknowledging a sacred moment is what keeps your heart in rhythm with the world. And if the encounter felt unsettling, like a warning, a sorrow, or a call from something unfinished, don't be afraid. Don't rush to get rid of it. Instead, ask, what part of me needs attention right now? What emotion has gone unspoken? What pattern in my home, my body, my relationships might need shifting? Small rituals can hold great power. Light a white candle in the evening. Place a bowl of water near a window for one night, symbolizing clarity, reflection, release. Walk barefoot outside, even for a few steps, to reconnect with the earth. These are not superstitions. These are ways to say to yourself, I am participating in the movement of my life. I'm not just watching it happen. Most importantly, shift how you think about these moments. A bird is not always an omen. It's a moment, a crossing, a thin place between what's visible and what's sensed. And how you choose to meet that moment determines whether it becomes just another story or something that actually transforms you. We live in a world so hungry for signs and yet so quick to dismiss them. But you don't need to decode every feather and direction. You only need to ask yourself with honesty, did something in me change today? Did this encounter make me more awake, more open, more ready to move gently through whatever comes next? Because in the end, the real meaning isn't in the bird. It's in the stillness you chose to enter, the space you chose to make, the door you remembered to open, not just for a winged visitor, but for yourself. Final, so maybe it wasn't just a bird. Maybe it was a moment, a conversation between your world and something just beyond it. We often expect signs to be loud, dramatic, wrapped in certainty. But life doesn't always speak that way. Sometimes it taps lightly on the glass with a wing. Sometimes it builds a tiny nest above your door without asking permission. Sometimes it shows up as panic in your living room or as silence outside your window at dusk. Each of these moments, if we're willing to see them, tells us something about how energy moves, not just through spaces, but through us. A bird that builds a nest reminds us we're already holding more safety and peace than we realize. A bird that flies in and can't escape shows us where we're stuck, where reflection has been mistaken for freedom. A morning song from the east asks us to begin again, with softness and openness. And the quiet presence of a white bird at night, it teaches us to honor what still lingers in the dark. None of these are coincidences. They're not superstitions either. They are moments where nature and energy, space and soul intersect and offer us a choice. Do we rush past them, or do we pause long enough to listen? This isn't about decoding every sign. It's about becoming the kind of person who notices where life is trying to speak, who senses when something needs to move, who trusts that even the smallest presence, a flutter, a song, a shadow, can be the beginning of realignment. So ask yourself gently right now, what has been trying to reach me? And have I been quiet enough to hear it?